What's up, you fucking bozos? This is Bloodstain Lane, aka Gorilla Press Your Grandmother Ultimate Warrior style.
Perhaps we'll see that crush slam. Yes. Oh,
I'm not knitting my sweater the fucking way I wanted it. And I'm here chilling, smoking a fucking bogey, you know, munching on some fucking Baby Bell cheese. I love this shit right here. Aura levels are on some fucking Dirty Dancing Patrick Swayze, cutting some serious carpet type shit. And yes, Bloodstain Lane does want to learn how to dance. I think I'm going to sign up for dancing school this week. Because you know what? Dancing is what gets the pussy. Okay? Playing the wall, looking cool with a fucking Bud Light in your hand. Girls don't want that. They want to see you cutting carpet like a prime 1987 Patrick Swayze. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to dance. I've also been busy trying to get on one of those late night softcore porn Cinemax flicks they show like on a Friday night and Saturday night. So I've been trying out for that as well. Hence why, you know, I haven't been doing too many vlogs as of late. But I'm here. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot to talk about. It was a big week in combat sports. We have boxing, MMA, kickboxing. We had a little bit of everything. And like I've always said, it's always good to have different bitches in the world of combat sports. Because if MMA ain't doing you right, you go in the next bitch bed, which is boxing. Boxing ain't doing you right, you go into the next bitch bed, kickboxing. So it's like, I got different bitches, you know what I'm saying? And that's the way all you guys should really appreciate all combat sports. First fight we're going to talk about is Nick Diaz versus GSP. I didn't get to watch the whole UFC card because I was watching Timothy Bradley versus Ruslan Provodnikov on HBO. So I missed the Carlos Condit Johnny Hendricks fight, which I did really want to see. I will catch up to that later this week. But let's talk about the prime meat of that card, which was the main event, Nick Diaz versus GSP. And I don't want to come across as a biased ass, so everybody knows I'm a Nick Diaz fan, and I watched this fight 3 times already, so I don't want to come into this video looking like a fucking clown. I'm going to try to be as fair as possible. You know, we all know what you're getting when you see GSP fight. GSP is a human blanket, period. He's a human blanket that will utilize his explosiveness and athletic ability to take you down and hold you down without really doing, you know, maybe some elbows mixed in every now and then, but most of the time it's just control and strength and ragdolling a guy. That's GSP. Going into this fight, you kind of, you know, if you're a fan of mixed martial arts, you know what's going to happen. Nick Diaz doesn't have the best takedown defense, and GSP is known for his takedowns. You knew GSP was going to get his takedown, so my whole philosophy going into this fight was Nick Diaz is going to have to use a whole chain of submissions or just use his incredible scrambling skills to get back up, use his boxing, get full extension on those punches without overcommitting, making it easier for GSP to get a takedown. That being said, GSP in the first 2 rounds got his takedown, typical GSP fashion, held him down, controlled him, and won those first 2 rounds. Round 3. Now this is where I got to be honest now. GSP impressed me with his stand-up a little bit because he was snapping back Nick Diaz's head a lot with his jab. And every now and then he threw a little fancy Superman punch, which to me, it looks good. It's nothing really crazy. But GSP was utilizing his jab to snap back Nick Diaz's head and was winning most of the stand-up in that round. That being said, I'm not going to sit here and praise this fucking French Kermit the Frog too much based on the fact that just like his ground game, he plays it safe on the stand-up. You only see really GSP throw a jab. You're not going to see GSP throw 2 or 3 punch combinations, any heavy punches to try to knock a guy out. He's going to play it safe. That being said, he was snapping Nick's head back. Towards the end of that round, Nick started catching him, though. Hit him with a nice fucking body shot. Hit him with a couple straight lefts, a hook. Was working his body in the clinch. And GSP felt that, went for a takedown, secured that round. Now, rounds 4 and round 5, these were the rounds that Nick had to capitalize. And he lost to the next 3 rounds. And in my opinion, Nick didn't capitalize. And a matter of fact, he didn't look like typical Nick Diaz. He looked a little lethargic out there and a little sluggish. And I'm not even going to say it's the cardio. Because, you know, I'm going to get a little bit into, you know, me having theories about Nick Diaz. And I'm not saying I'm right. This is just my theory. I personally think, and like I said, it's not the cardio because you know Nick is a world-class athlete, you know, triathlon type guy. Always has probably arguably top 3 cardio in history of MMA. I think that Nick Diaz doesn't want to fight professional MMA anymore. And I don't think he likes all the hoopla and all this other bullshit. I think Nick's a very private guy. And I don't think his heart really is into fighting at a professional level anymore. I think Nick Diaz just really loves training martial arts and just loves the spirit of martial arts. You know? And I was starting to see that in the 4th and 5th rounds because these were his times to capitalize. He was stuffing GSP's takedowns. He was on the feet. They were boxing for most of the rounds. And Nick didn't capitalize. And I was starting to... Just something didn't feel right. And like I said, this is just my theory. I don't know what's going on through Nick Diaz's head, but that's just my theory. That being said, overall, I think Nick won the stand-up fight just based on the fact that this is MMA, and whoever lands the harder, cleaner punches wins the round. It's not boxing. So controlling somebody with a jab, to me, that don't mean shit. It's not boxing. Nick was landing the left cross, and his dirty inside boxing was incredible. And it seemed like a lot of people didn't pay attention to that on Twitter, because on Twitter I was talking about his dirty boxing with the body work and even the knees that were thrown in was stupendous. It was absolutely stupendous. That being said, GSP won all 5 rounds based on the fact that overall with the stand up and the takedowns and the control, he won all 5 rounds. Now, and I've said this many times, MMA is not about martial artists and fighters anymore. It's about the more explosive athlete. And GSP is the prototype for the modern day MMA fighter, where you can see in this fight, Nick Diaz was throwing more punches to try to hurt GSP. Like, you've seen the left crosses being thrown, you've seen combination punching, you've seen submission attempts. Okay, that's a martial artist right there. GSP was relying more on his, just controlling the fight with his jab and his explosive double leg and holding the guy down, which is how these new athletes are fighting nowadays. And like I said, GSP I used to be a huge GSP fan when he was one of those Kyokushin, Jean-Claude Van Damme, karate type guys, exciting guy, and he became a wrestler. But GSP is the prototype for the modern day MMA fighter, where these guys are more athletes than they are fighters, and they're utilizing the rules that are set in place for them to succeed. So GSP is, like I said, the prototype athlete. Nick Diaz is more the old school, traditional martial artist who is, if you watch the fight, you can see it. Nick is throwing submission attempts. Nick is throwing the harder punches, but GSP is playing it safe and utilizing his explosive athletic strength to win the fight. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we're at right now. And after the fight ended, and hearing, I'm not going to shit on GSP. I'm just telling you right now, GSP is not going to ever get $1 from me watching this pay-per-view, because you know what you're going to get. And I'm not from Montreal, so I don't give a fuck. He ain't getting my fucking money, because you know how every GSP fight's going to go. I'd rather spend $55 on fucking watching an old, former shell of himself, Wanderlei Silva, than GSP. Because when Wanderlei Silva fights, you're going to get fireworks. You're going to get a fighter. So, like I said, not shitting on GSP. He's good at what he does. But frankly, it's not my fucking thing. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, Bloodstain, you're hating on wrestling. Bull fucking shit. Watch my fight with Sean O'Basi. I use wrestling the whole fucking fight. The whole thing is this. These are the cream of the crop athletes. These guys, this is their life. They train this every day. There's no reason just to take a guy down and control him. If you're training stand up, you're training ground and pound, you're training BJJ, you should, you take a guy down, do something with it. Submission attempts, ground and pound. You know what I'm saying? Do something. Judging from the post-fight interview, and like I just said, you can see Nick Diaz. I don't think he wants to be bothered with the hoopla anymore. He just wants to be a martial artist, and it's something that he loves, and I'm pretty sure it's something he'll do for the rest of his life. But as far as being in the limelight and being, all the fancy being a UFC fighter, I don't think he wants to do it anymore. And frankly, I don't blame the guy. There's more to life than being a fighter. There's more to life than having something define you. And from what I gather from Nick Diaz, there's so much more in life I think that he wants to do. And I think he's gonna do it now. I'll be surprised if he comes back and fights, but who knows? Like I said, in this world, money talks. So if the price is right, I'm sure Nick will come back. But I think in his heart, and I'm not speaking for the guy, I'm just going on my opinion, my theory. In his heart, he doesn't want to be defined by just being a fighter. I think he wants to do other things in life, and that's what life's about. So Nick, if this was your last fight, thank you for all the memories. You're one of my all-time favorite fighters, and like I said, you have nothing to hang your head about. You are, and there's a reason why you have a cult-type fan base. So yeah, that's it. And that's where we're at right now. I guess we're going to see GSP versus Johnny Hendricks next. I think GSP's time's coming to an end where he's going to be defeated. I don't think he's going to be able to get them takedowns of Johnny Hendricks, in my opinion. And I feel like, if Johnny Hendricks does clip him with that right hand, it's night-night for GSP. GSP's time's coming to an end. It's just a gut feeling that I'm getting. HBO welterweight bout between champion Timothy Bradley versus Ruslan Provodnikov. Let me tell you fucking bozos right now, if you missed this fight, you missed one of the greatest bouts you will ever see in your fucking lifetime. And just let me say this right off the bat. I've been a Timothy Bradley for some fucking time now. Always liked the kid. Throwback type fighter. Everybody was shitting on him after the Manny Pacquiao fight, saying that, he was given a gift, it was a robbery, this and that, whatever. I did a video about it where I said in the video that if you really watch the fight on mute without Jim Lampley's biased fucking commentary, okay, it was a close bout. I still had Pacquiao winning, but it was a lot closer than what they made it out to be. 11 months later, long layup for Timothy Bradley, and you know what? His name was in the fucking mud after that Manny Pacquiao fight. This fight right here took him out of that and put him back to where he belongs and should fucking be. Okay? Not too many people knew a lot about Ruslan Provodnikov. Everybody knew he trained at Wild Card Gym with Freddie Roach, Manny Pacquiao's sparring partner. I was expecting Timothy Bradley to box circles around this guy. That being said, never expect anything, especially if you don't know a lot about a fighter. This fight right here was cinematic. It was breathtaking. It was a movie script come to fucking life. This was the real Rocky IV. Mind you, Timothy Bradley's a little short black guy, not Italian like Rocky Balboa. Ruslan Provodnikov is a Russian like Ivan Drago. And Ruslan Provodnikov is an absolute fucking serial killer. He is a monster. And this guy fights either like he's a zombie and dead already, or two, he caught you banging his fucking wife, and his mission is to kill you, and nothing will stop him. He is a cyborg. Because Timothy Bradley, I mean, listen, Ruslan Provodnikov almost finished Timothy Bradley in those first 2 rounds. In my opinion, he should have got the knockdown in round 1. Had Timothy Bradley out on his feet, and in round 2. Which I really suggest everybody go watch this fucking fight, because it is a modern day classic. Okay? And all I can say about Timothy Bradley is this guy has more heart and more machismo than 95% of the fighters that are fighting in the UFC, period. This guy was out on his feet. And instead of grabbing to hold, I'm talking, he was knocked out on his feet. He is in the pocket banging against a Russian monster in Ruslan Provodnikov. After the first 2 rounds, I was starting to wonder about Timothy Bradley because his defense wasn't there, and I'm thinking it might have been the ring rust, the 11-month layoff. But Timothy Bradley, from the third round on, started boxing circles around Ruslan Provodnikov, despite Ruslan Provodnikov eating whatever Timothy Bradley threw, and Timothy Bradley was throwing 100 fucking punches around. And he was working everything, uppercuts, straight rights, body punches. Timothy Bradley was landing punches, and Provodnikov was eating them. And still coming forward, throwing bombs. The last 30 seconds of round 6, the most epic 30 seconds you ever see in a fucking fight, period. Or that last 45 seconds, whatever you want to call it. Timothy Bradley and Ruslan Provodnikov, these guys delivered a classic, and round 12, and Timothy Bradley is lucky that the fight ended. The fight was over after round 12 because he was done after that. He was done. Ruslan Provodnikov knocked him down with 20 seconds left, and if there would have been another, like, old boxing when it was 15 rounds, I don't think Timothy Bradley would have made it, because Provodnikov wasn't hurt at all during this fucking fight with Timothy Bradley. Like I said, a classic, a treasure, a must-watch fight, cinematic at its best. I scored the fight 115-112 Timothy Bradley. I really should have had it 114-112 because that should have been a knockdown in the first round. Should have been a 10-8 round. I still would have had Tim Bradley winning 114-112. Where do these guys go from here after delivering an absolute masterpiece? You could have an immediate rematch. See a part 2, which I'm all for. You could do Timothy Bradley versus Juan Manuel Marquez, who wants to go up to 147, which would be a great fight between, Marquez and Bradley is a great fight. You could do Bradley versus Pacquiao part 2. You could do Provodnikov versus Lucas Mathise, Provodnikov versus Keith Thurman, Provodnikov versus Brandon Rios. Those fights right there that I just named, or Provodnikov, are horror movies, because that's what they're gonna be. Slugfest. So, like I said, shout out to those guys for delivering an absolute fucking classic, and I'm glad Timothy Bradley dug his name out of the fucking dirt and put it where it should be, as a great champion and a guy filled with heart. And I'm glad, he needed this fight, despite him taking brutal punches and almost getting finished. This is the fight he needed to get his name out of that dirt of that Manny Pacquiao fight. Going on to the world of kickboxing. K-1, which is, let's be honest, K-1's not the same anymore. Glory is the premier kickboxing organization. That being said, it has some pretty big names. Badr Hari, the return of Badr Hari, Mirko Krokop, Hedzi Gergis. This took place in Croatia. And Mirko Krokop ended up winning the K-1 champion. At 38 years old, Mirko Krokop won the K-1 championship. Now, mind you, it was not without controversy. He was fighting Jarrell Miller from Brooklyn, and after watching the fight the first time, I thought Jarrell Miller was robbed. But then I watched it the second time and the third time, and you know what? It wasn't that big of a robbery. It wasn't really a blowout. Krokop won round 1, in my opinion. Round 2 was all Jarrell Miller. Round 3 was all Jarrell Miller. He won the first minute and 45 seconds of the third round, but then Krokop rallied back to, make it more even. I still gave Jarrell Miller the round to give him a 2-1 edge, but it wasn't that clear as people were making it out to be if you watch the fight again. And Krokop ended up beating Badr Hari, ended up breaking his foot after his first fight. It was exciting to see Badr back in the ring. Still looked explosive, still had his power and speed, but still needs to brush up on his technique, which is due to the rust. And I'm looking forward to seeing Badr back in action again. And, like a lot of people are saying it was fixed, it was that, whatever. I mean, let's be real. It wasn't fixed. Just because Mirko Krokop won at 38 years old, he didn't beat the best guys. You know what I'm saying? The Jarrell Miller, whether you think it was a gift or not, whatever, he didn't really, the other 2 guys that he fought weren't top echelon kickboxers. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't beat Badr Hari, he didn't beat Hedzi Gergis, he didn't beat Gokhan Saki, Semi Shota, Errol Zimmerman. He beat lower, mid-tier guys. So it wasn't like, the most shocking thing. And he didn't even really beat them. Like, it wasn't decisively. It was, he edged them out. So I'm not going to say it was a fix. I'm just really, really happy. One of my favorite fighters at 38 years old finally won the K-1 championship, and I'm happy for Mirko Krokop. And hopefully he goes out. This was his last hurrah. Overall, big week in combat sports. Looking forward to some big fights coming up, especially in the world of boxing. You got Brandon Rios versus Mike Alvarado, Part 2. My boy Triple G, Gennady Golovkin's returning back again. Nonito Donaire versus Rigo. You got fucking John Jones versus Chael Sonnen. You got Glory coming up. Big fights coming ahead. Bloodstain Lane, 187 on you 666s. Respect the fucking shooter, and I'm out of here.